Hi everybody, it's CCJT Amateur. Our production value is going to die. Over there is CC.
And over there is JT.
We're just having a cacophony of fun here this morning while we're trying to get ourselves organized. It's actually been a while since we've sat down and had a chat like this.
In a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've been doing a whole bunch of interviews and having fun with interviews.
Mm-hmm.
But we sort of lost our mojo because we used to do this every week, and now we're trying to recapture our mojo. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I think we actually last recorded on our anniversary, which was 10 days ago.
Wow. So
in this format, because we've been using the Riverside app for our interviews.
Yeah, so things are a little bit fun for us, so bear with us as we try to get back into our mojo. We've had a fun couple of weeks since our anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
We've had travels, we've had interviews, we've had adventures, just all over the stuff. We're gonna start with the usual updates on our books, and then we'll get into those adventures. And first of all, what we codename VCR, Virginia City Romance, should be back from.
I'm hoping it will be back sometime. I think we were estimating it should be around my birthday, which is when I was originally going to release it.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news
June
is...
26th.
Yes. The good news is that I do have a finalized cover, and I'm happy with the cover. It turned out much better than I expected. That was an adventure, had to go through 2 rounds, and maybe we'll discuss it at some point. But I have a cover. The book is in the proofing queue, if not in actual proofing stage, and then I'm hoping at this point that the book will be able to go on pre-sale on or near my birthday, June 26th.
Hopefully. And you're actively working on the second book in the series right now?
Yes, I'm working. I started the second book basically while we were on our road trip. I restarted it because based on the first book, now I need to make everything fit together. Some characters have changed, and some of the elements that were originally going to be in the story will be left out. So I think it will be a better book for it. It should be interesting. The characters in this one, the main characters, are actually going to be in their 70s, and they are a long married couple, so they are renewing their romance, but there are a lot of paranormal elements that are kind of throwing things out of whack. So it should be a fun book.
Should be fun. Mm-hmm. Excellent. And when do you guesstimate this one will be out? Just later this year, maybe?
We were talking about maybe November, because you have quite a few books in the queue right now that, so Serving Salvation Book 3, which you'll be talking about, and Maggie will be coming out before my next one.
So Serving Salvation Book 2, which is over there, is out. Mm-hmm. It's a very pretty book.
These covers are gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a very pretty book. And already seen the cover for Serving Salvation Book 3. That one's done, and it's also very pretty. Mm-hmm. And that book is over at Red Adept right now. I've lost track. It's at Red Adept.
It's in the queue.
It's in the queue for Red Adept get edited.
I think it goes into editing this week, doesn't it?
Ooh.
I think.
Yeah.
Maybe?
And Maggie, which is the sheriff in Nevada.
Book 3.
Book 3 is also in the queue at Red Adept, but it's not really, because I've gotten all the edits back from the betas, my fabulous betas, who are oh so awesome. And thank you. And Terry, of course, case.com. She did your usual wonderful job, and I have set myself a goal to start working on it tomorrow, to start start incorporating those edits. As usual, especially from Terry's feedback, I have to rewrite more than a couple of chapters, which is fine. That's the point of editing. That's the point of having a creative editor. That's the point of having betas who provide strong and viable feedback. I can jump into that, get that. So this is hopefully to go on pre-sale on my birthday, which is July 24th, for sale sometime in August. So
which hopefully will be the release date of my book. So we will have hopefully my book, Restless Spirits Book 1, for sale live on July 24th, and then you will have Serving Salvation Book 3 on pre-sale for an August release. I think we were talking
sometime in
mid-August.
Yeah. So like August 25th or something like that. Yeah. I haven't picked the date, but it'll be sometime in August. Yeah. So the books are going forward. And just as an aside for folks that like the Finding Salvation prequels, those novellas, I've also cracked open those, and we'll be redoing those, so that'll be fun.
And you're looking at releasing the two of those, I think one in late
One in
25
yeah.
and one in like February of 26.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of books, either novels or novellas, coming out for the end of the year. Plus, once the 3 novellas are released, they're currently only in ebook format. Once they're all 3 out in the world, I believe JT's plan is to condense them into a single volume, and they will be also in paperback.
So that'll be fun. It'll be one of those big door stoppers, but it'll be,
But then it will be maybe the final version of the Salvation series, but who knows,
Yeah, I always it's when I first started the running gig, I never thought I would do sequels, and I never, formatted the endings for sequels, but now it's just sort of matter of course, so I don't know.
Well,
I'm not thinking that I'm going to be doing any more Salvation books, but you never know, and I may just come up with a wild hair and come up with something and say, okay, let me do that.
I think what happens is we get very interested and invested in the characters, and we want to continue to see where the stories are going. So maybe not, who knows, but could be a full Salvation universe by, I'm thinking mid-26 maybe, will be the paperback version. And it's funny that we're talking about going that far out with our basically our publication schedule, but I will also have book 3 of my Restless Spirits series probably out early 2026, and then I have 3 more books planned in that. So we've got lots of books planned. Plus I have another couple of series that I want to work on.
Yep. So we're keeping busy.
Very busy.
Here's a segue, but the other way we're keeping busy is Two More Books LLC has opened up our podcast. We have 2 podcasts open to all sorts of writers, and boy, we're having fun. And I hope that you are, checking out the writers that we're interviewing, because they're really, really interesting. For the Nevada Author Network, that is a partnership with the Sierra Arts Foundation. We're interviewing writers who are members of the Sierra Arts literary community and have books over at the Depot Gallery in Sparks. And we're learning so much about people who not only love to write, but love to write about Nevada and also love to write, just generally write. And so far we've interviewed people like Teresa Breeden, Jackie Turner, just down the list of people that we've already posted out onto our website of twomoorebooks.com.
Well, I will say on Jackie Turner, she has not done her Nevada Author Network interview yet. We did her as a guinea pig for our regular podcast.
Right.
So she will be coming to the Nevada Author Network, but she's not yet posted there.
Yeah, we actually, what it is we bought some podcast software, which you'll see when you look at those interviews, and the podcast software is actually working quite great. Over on over on this website, which is carsonhume.com, we're just opening it up to all writers who are not a member of the Sierra Arts literary community. And we've gotten some really fascinating stuff. So like Kendall Brown, who is not just a great dog trainer, but a great writer of dog training. And we also got to interview Rich Moreno, who is an old friend and a well-respected Nevada historian. And we will be posting his interview here very soon. I think it's
next Sunday.
I think it's next week. So, and we learned things about Nevada, and we're learning all sorts of things about writers' motivations, what makes writers write, what inspires a certain book. And so if you're into that, into the idea of writers, how they do their task, and you're tired of listening to us whine, and God knows we whine, then this is an interesting series for you. So for the Nevada's Author Network is over on twomoorebooks.com, and for everybody else is over on carsonhume.com. So check it out. It's good stuff.
And if you are a local Nevada author and you are not yet a member of the Sierra Arts Foundation, we were having an interesting discussion with an interview we recently did where we talked about how important it is to find your fellow authors because it can be a very lonely task. And many of the authors we've spoken to, they have groups that they belong to, critique groups or just general writers groups. The Sierra Arts literary community is one of the more general groups. There are critique offshoots that are not affiliated, but there are members that go off and do critique groups together. But it is very important to have that community. So if you are a local Nevada author, you are in the Northern Nevada, Reno, Sparks, Carson City area, or even further afield, because I know they are talking about opening it up to virtual attendance as well. They just need to get some of the technical issues worked out. Definitely join the Sierra Arts Foundation. It's so important to support those arts foundations right now, and it's a great support system back for you as a writer. And then you can get your books into the Depot Gallery in Sparks, or even they're expanding into the Riverside Gallery on Virginia Street in Reno. So if you're local, if you're not yet a member, please join us. There will not be a meeting in July, but we'll be getting back together again, I believe, in August, because everybody's kind of taking summer vacation.
Yep.
And definitely join us, and then you can be eligible to be on the Nevada Author Network podcast as well.
And so, so much opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And why are we doing this podcast? Why are we featuring writers? Is because marketing, unfortunately or unfortunately, depending on your, the way you twist your mind, is an essential part, an essential function of being a self-published writer. You can't get away from it. So by being on podcasts, not just ours, but as many podcasts as you can be on, you elevate your visibility, you elevate your internet presence, because you become more clickable, and people will have an easier time of finding your book. So please, 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 if you're a writer and you want to be on our podcast, you can. And again, if you're a member of the Sierra Arts Literary Community, you go to twomoorebooks.com. Otherwise, go to carsonhume.com and click on the contact page, and we'll get your note and we'll set up something. And that's great fun. We're having fun.
We are, and I think everybody who has done our interviews so far has felt very comfortable. We try to keep it as low tech as possible with the new Riverside app that we're using. It's basically it's a click and go situation. You don't have to download anything.
Mm-hmm.
There are always the little technical glitches, or we have the usual coughing fits due to allergies, because we're in the middle of allergy season, and it's easy to edit those things out. So everybody's felt very comfortable. We've had some nice chats, and I think by the time we're done with the interview, we feel like we have a new friend if it's somebody we haven't yet met in person. Yeah. So we hope that comes out in these interviews, because we really have met some wonderful authors. Some of them we'd already known in person, but some are brand new to us, and it's just, I feel like we're broadening our connections to our author community, and we're learning about so many fun books. My TBR, I don't physically have the books yet, but I'm going to be adding a lot of them to my TBR because they're so fascinating.
That's the negative part for this, is because our to be read list is just growing, because some of these stories that we're being told are so fascinating. It's like, tell us more.
Right? We're having so much fun, and we hope you will too if you check them out. So please do go check them out at either twomoorebooks.com or at carsonhume.com.
Yeah, fun. Okay, we're going to talk about what we've been doing since the last time we sat down by this, and a major portion of that involved a trip to Ely out via America's loneliest highway, Highway 50. Highway 50 is a trip. It is a place where the internet goes to die in some spots. It is Nevada at its rawest. We have traveled. Nevada has 17 counties, and we've done all 17 counties.
Yep.
That's what kind of nerds we are. But we've done Highway 50 now 5 or 6 times. It has to be an odd number, because
we did. Yeah, because we came back across Highway 50 last year when we did the cross country trip.
But we've done, I think 5, at least 5 times that I can think of, and it never grows old. There's always something fresh. There's always something new. There's a couple of things that stood out to me, and we're going to talk about that, but a couple of things that stood out to me were those ranches that are in the middle of nowhere, and that are self-reliant for all intents and purposes, except for probably a single power line. But when the lights go out at night, and it's completely dark, and you can just step outside and see the ribbon of the Milky Way, it's probably just a wondrous sight, because there's nothing around some of these ranches. What was something that stuck out to you?
I think it's the ebb and flow of the communities, because each time we go out, I remembered there was a specific place in Austin, Nevada, where we used to stop to get ice cream or lunch, which is closed. And it looks like now it has been closed for quite a while, because we've done the trip probably maybe 5 times together, but I used to go out there with my family as a kid, and seeing what's there, what is no longer there, what is still there, but it's a different iteration of something. It's fascinating to watch the ebb and flow, because some communities, like for example Austin, I remember it being a little bit more vibrant than it currently is. But that doesn't mean it's not coming back. It's just kind of in a bit of a lull.
And it's a county seat. You know,
Yes.
it's this small little white spot in the road, which is just adorable, by the way.
Adorable, and it's up on the side of a hill, so it's similar to places like Tonopah, where at one spot, the curve, you come around the curve and there's an absolutely gorgeous view of the valley.
But it's, you know, it's like, you know, you think of county seats. This little town is just, you know, a county seat because there's no other town bigger than Lander County.
I think that was Lander,
Lander
yes.
County. And then down the road, of course, is Eureka, which is the county seat of Eureka County. But you know, Eureka has, of course, its own charm too. And, and which gives us a little segue here, because one of the things that we did on the Highway 50 trip is we took one of my books, Hope Knocks Twice.
It's an Emma Parks
We took some
book.
copies of that, and we dropped it off on free libraries along Highway 50. We did 2 in Carson, 1 in Dayton, 1 in Eureka, 1 in Ely, and 1 in Fallon.
Yes.
I didn't get that in the right order. So if we're going west to east, it's Carson City, Dayton, Fallon, Eureka, Ely.
Well, if you want to do it in the order we actually did it.
Yeah, I'm not going to confuse things. Not going to confuse things. But
I actually found an app which I really like. It's called Little Free Library. It was put out by, I believe, students from the San Jose State iSchool, and it tracks little free libraries. And JT was commenting about how each one has a little plaque because it has a certification date or something. So it will have a number and everything. And in this Little Free Library app, you can actually look them up. So when I found this app, I looked up the Little Free Libraries along the way. It's a great app. I'm guessing it's still in, probably in flux, because if it's done by students, then they may be adding to it. But it works wonderfully, except when you're in a dead zone. And it shows you all the little libraries in your community or within a radius of your community. So we used that to figure out where we were going to stop and drop off books.
Yeah, and I visited my book at the first place we went to, which was in City Hall in Carson City. And so we dropped that off last Monday. And I visited my book on Friday, and it wasn't there. Somebody did.
Was it Friday? Yeah, I guess it was Friday.
So I visited the library on Friday, and the book wasn't there. So somebody has it. So if you're out there, I hope you enjoy the book, and I hope you read it, and I hope you leave a review.
And there are 2 following books in that series as well. There's it's Hope Knocks Twice, Saturday's Child, and then Emma Forgiven. And there's also a compilation of that as well. So all 3 books in one paperback. So if you are interested in that series, which I think needs more love, Emma was a gift to me for Christmas one year. And I love the story, and it's very well written. So of course I might be a little biased, but I think that series definitely needs to get more love. So check it out.
And speaking of books, speaking of my books, actually, we had fun, and we've got a story to get there. So you know, we love our little railroad museum here at Carson City. It's the Nevada Railroad Museum.
Nevada State Railroad Museum.
Nevada State Railroad Museum, and we just love it. But I've always thought it was confined to a very small footprint, and because Carson City was built between mines and railroads, but. You know, that's a whole different story. Plus, you know, full disclosure, our son-in-law is a, you know, volunteer and would actually, if he could, he would live there.
I think he would love a house right next door. Or maybe he'd move into the depot on the property.
I think if given a choice, he would do that. But we made a special effort this time to go to the Nevada Northern Railroad. If you've been following us on social media, especially TikTok, both of us have called it the Northern Nevada Railroad. And that's an easy mistake to make. It's the Nevada Northern Railroad System. And we took the train ride halfway out to McGill from Ely, Nevada to McGill, which is to the north. And, you know, we're just chugging along and having fun, sway. And of course, we're naming the railroad wrong. And then when we get back, we get this really extensive tour of the workshop.
Of the shops.
And
Yes.
I've posted some pictures on the social media, and it is just, I can't think of a better word than just say, if you're into that kind of stuff, it is such a wonderful place. They just give you free reign. You know, they give you this excellent tour, full of details and everything, and then they just said, okay, you're on your own. And so you can go through and you can just wander on through this extensive workshop. And then you go in the back where all the cars are, and just so many cars, and then you go in the back again and they've got these workshops. And if you're into this kind of stuff, you're in a happy place. You're in a happy place.
It is definitely not ADA accessible because of there are tools everywhere and there are pits. They run the trains, specifically the engines, they'll put them over a pit to work underneath them. So there are a lot of issues if somebody has mobility problems going in and out of these shops. So they're not really accessible for everyone.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for one lawyer to complain before they stop that. And it
would be a shame, but yes.
Yeah. And a very funny story, just very, very quickly. I keep saying that, sorry about that. As they have a stamp in the back.
It's an air hammer.
It's an air hammer.
Yep.
You know, very powerful.
Massive.
And so they installed it. They used it once.
Well, okay, so what happened was it was originally a steam hammer. They adapted it to become an air hammer, and it has been in there for a long time because these shops are very old. The railroad is at least 100 years old because it serves the mines out at Ruth and in the Ely area. And when they put the air hammer, or at that point the steam hammer, when they put it in the shops, they actually built the shop around it because they had to put it in there, and it had, you know, the foundation and everything.
And we can't say this is enough. This is a very powerful piece of machinery.
Yes.
This is used to mold cast iron.
Yes.
So
for the railroad.
you know, it's not for wimps, and
No.
so we can't overstate how strong and powerful this puppy is.
Big. So the big thing is the issue here. So it's been in there for a very long time, obviously over a century now. And what they didn't realize after they did the conversion was that the foundation had rotted underneath it. So someone used it once they had converted it to an air hammer. They used it once, and the weight and the pressure from the air hammer buckled the foundation beneath it, so it sank into the ground a bit, which threw it out of alignment. So they can no longer use it without having to move it to reinforce the foundation. However, the shop is built around it. So they would have to remove a wall at the back of the shop. They have a massive engine with a crane on it. They would have to use that engine to lift it out of the shop that they have now torn apart to reinforce the foundation. So basically it is not financially feasible. It's just got to sit there. And I guess now they're using it to crush cans.
Yeah.
But it's still a massive and interesting piece of equipment there. And it's also in a room where they have a lot of the molds that they use to create the gears and the wheels for the engines.
Well, it's a blacksmith shop.
Yes, it's a blacksmith shop. It is a working smithy. They still make things in there, but these the forms that they use to make these gears and the wheels, I guess they're no longer really usable. Someone had thrown them in the trash somewhere, maybe the mining, company or something, because they figured they're not usable anymore. Someone retrieved them and took them back, and now they're very artistically hung around this blacksmith shop. So you have this massive non-working air hammer, you have the smithy, and then you have all these really cool gears and wheels and things, the forms for them hanging up on the walls. So my heart was like, ooh, this is cool.
Yeah, if you're into horror stories, this would be a wonderful place to just to pick up the ambiance. So, and I do know that we do have a couple of horror writers. So and we're now we're fans of the Nevada Northern Railroad. But if you are into that kind of thing, if you want to pick up some ambiance, because man, that workshop and the rooms, all of that would be just
terrifying. And mentioning horror writers, Stephen King wrote a book, I believe it was called Desperation, which is set in an area like that in Nevada. It's around kind of Ely, the Ruth area. I read that book a while back based on the recommendation of someone who was from that area, And even though I wasn't then as familiar with it as I am now, it was absolutely terrifying because at night it is very dark. Like JT said, you know, you go in the railroad shops and it's like, whoa. So it's definitely prime for that type of environment if you want to write something really horrifying.
So to make this all about me, because
it's
that's
always
what we
about
do.
JT.
It's all about moi. So we're chugging along on the railroad and chugging along, and of course we go along this ridge of mountains that are to the north of Ely, and chugging along, looking at these mountains, going, you know, those look kind of familiar. Those look kind of familiar. And while I'm drawing this story out, Cece can turn around and see if she can find it, find the cover. No, I don't think we actually have any, but it's not important if you can't find it. So we're chugging along, and then on the way back, you know, we get a better perspective of it, and we're going, you know, those hills look really, really familiar. Those are the hills. Those are the hills.
We could tell because JT pulled up the cover on his phone while we were there, and we lined it up. And I actually took a picture of JT by the mountains, but you can see based on the shape of the mountains that this ridge is to the east, the northeast, I guess, of Ely. And it just, if we had not taken this train ride, we probably wouldn't have noticed because there are so many mountains in Nevada.
There are over 2,000 named mountains in Nevada.
So, you know, this just random ridge out here, and we talked about, for example, Austin being on the hill and looking down in the valley. Nevada is basin and range, so it's a series of north-south mountain ranges and valleys. Ely is in the Steptoe Valley, which is very large. It's 100 miles long and about 15 miles wide. So it's surrounded by hills, and this specific hill formation we would not have noticed if we hadn't just been relaxing out in the open car of the Nevada Northern Railway.
Anyway, I'll put a side by side in the blog post, but you can see right away, it's like, whoa, that looks so familiar.
It is very, you can tell by this formation here that it is these hills. So whoever designed this cover, I believe he did it, 399 Designs, did an excellent job because now technically I think the book is more of a central Nevada location and this would be northeast. JT says he doesn't really specify, but the fact that they figured out that, and I don't know, maybe they didn't, maybe it was coincidence, but finding a mountain range that was basically an actual Nevada mountain range is amazing. Yeah,
it's fun stuff. Okay, we did other things on this trip too, including we saw the cutest little museum, the White Pine County Museum, which was fun because we get to step back in time for the last 100 years. We get to see what basically started Ely, Nevada, and that of course was Kennecott, was copper mining, because a big copper mine, which I guess is reopened and is still active.
I think the one in Ruth, so just before you get to Ely as you're going east, there you can see the basically the tailings, the dredged mountains.
Right.
You can tell it's been man, man has created these mounds of
artificial
earth. Yeah, because there were hills there already, but these are more man-made, and you can tell.
And of course, the mines, and I don't know if specifically Kennecott, but all of these mines, of course, gave birth to the Nevada Northern Railroad because they had to get them shipped, from the mines to the consumers. But the cute little museum has all these rooms, and it's got these artifacts as you would expect from a small town. Mostly donations. After we left, I basically called it White Pine County's attic, which is, I don't mean that in a negative way.
No, it's cool.
It's we're museum nerds, so
our house is a museum.
Yeah,
if
you
it's look back here at my wedding dress that sits in the corner here, which I've considered donating to our local museum, but I can't yet. So our house is basically a museum.
It's a museum too. But the fun part is as we're going along, la da da da, and there up on the wall is a poster that Cece did. How many years ago?
It was 2018. It was the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I.
So it was just this poster that she did for the Nevada State Archives and distributed to the museums all throughout Nevada. That's not the first time we've seen one of her posters in the wild. We also saw it at the Eureka Museum.
Yeah, the Eureka Sentinel. It was their old newspaper office.
So it's like, but catching it out there in White Pine County was, and of course we made the curator or the staff member. She was tickled to say, that was fun. Sort of things that sort of go circle there.
And I will say that poster, and I've told many people this, I told the person at the museum, I think that was the best poster I ever designed, basically. It just came together so perfectly. The Nevada State Archives is basically a document-based repository. The records are related to state government operations. Sometimes there are things like federal records where there are copies of people's DD-214s, which is their separation documents. But there are also what they called service cards, which predated the DD-214s. So we at the archives happen to have the service cards for the people who were involved in World War I from Nevada. And I managed to find a card, or 2 cards specifically, that were related to a couple of men. I'd found a photo, I believe that photo may have been from either the Nevada State Museum or the Nevada Historical Society. These 2 service cards matched the people who were shown in the photo. So having the photo as the centerpiece, the 2 service cards for these gentlemen, and then there was a nice photo as kind of a background that I got from special collections at UNLV, I believe. I don't remember the full, where everything came from, but that was for specifically the end of World War I, that commemoration in 2018. I believe that was the year we went to Boulder City for the Nevada Veterans Home down there. And that poster has been very well liked. And the fact that we found it in this museum 7 years after I created it was totally out of the blue, and it was a very wild kind of a flashback to my former career, which I just retired from last year. And it was nice to see that. And we kind of joke about, hey, I'm in a museum now, but we had something come up recently related to the Nevada State Railroad Museum as well.
My picture is in there from the opening when it opened, so in
1980. Yeah.
So I was just a tad then. So we did the museum, and we got to the outbuildings, and it was just fun to see the slice of life from 150 years ago. So it was so much fun.
Well, the outbuildings too were a trip, because one of them was a miner's shack, and the explanation on the building was that it was multi-generational. And my original thought was that it was more than one generation living in the shack. But that's not what they meant at all. They meant that more than one generation of miner used it. So people successively used the same shack moving forward. And going inside the shack, the inside was all insulated with just cardboard. So the walls were cardboard. The exterior was wood that they had scrounged, because out in some areas there are not a lot of trees to cut down. So it was just things that people had found along the way, and they just threw it together to make a shelter, so that, because miners didn't make a lot of money, and they just basically needed somewhere to sleep. And so seeing that out in this harsh environment, because, as we mentioned, going through Highway 50, some areas are very remote, and thinking about people out in these elements in the dark, if they're walking out through the desert, which they did on occasion, they may have walked into the night and had to go by starlight and moonlight, and it really takes you back to an earlier time. And someone we interviewed recently mentioned the connection. It grounds you. You feel more connected to the world around you.
Yep.
So we really enjoy taking these trips around the state, because it does remind us of where we've come from, because we are so now insulated and technology driven, and getting out and getting away and not having internet or phone access is a very different experience.
And speaking of being connected to, or being connected to technology versus not being connected to technology, we also did the mandatory stop of Great Basin National Park, which is just a wonderful, wonderful stop, and doesn't get enough love, I think, because it is right there, almost right there on the Utah border. We actually did a quick side trip so we could say, hey, we're in Utah, we're in Nevada, we're in Utah, we're in Nevada. But we did that. But we went to the Great Basin National Park, which is up there on Mount
Wheeler Peak.
Wheeler Peak. One of the highest points, but not the highest points in Nevada, in a very mountainous Nevada. But with the vast national forest, and if we'd made the climb, we'd been there before, and last time we did make the climb, we went up and saw the bristlecone pines, which are thousands.
The oldest living trees, some of the oldest living trees, and they are thousands of years old, and they are impressive.
Yeah, and the view and everything like that. And so if you are any kind of national park nerd, you got to check that box. You got to check that box and go to Great Basin National Park.
And it also has Lehman Caves, which we did previously. We did not do this trip. The one caveat is that we will make is that both of us started feeling a little off during this trip, which is unusual because we're used to higher elevations, but for some reason, I think we both had a little bit of altitude sickness. It is quite a bit higher, 9,000 feet, I think, at the point we were at. So keep that in mind, that if you are not maybe in the best of health, you might not feel great up there, but it's still a beautiful place to visit, and I definitely recommend it. It's not highly traveled, because it is out kind of in a remote area along the Nevada-Utah border, but it's well worth the visit.
Yeah, and that's, and related to that is when you do travel that road of Highway 50, going up a peak, down to a valley, peak, valley, all the way through. You're going to be up, more than 7,000 feet in some of those, in some of those overpasses, and that's fine.
I definitely noticed on the trip back, I was watching the elevations at the various summits, and they start kind of around 7,500 feet going back, and as we get toward western Nevada, our valley here is around 4,500 feet, so the hills around us are usually around 5,000-ish, so it definitely slopes downward toward the western side of the state before you go up into the Sierra Nevada, where I think around Donner, it's around 75 to 8,000, it's somewhere in that area. So the hills we call them hills, back east they would be mountains for sure, but they are definitely kind of going lower in elevation as you're traveling west.
So if you're in any kind of science, if you want to go ahead out there and Google Great Basin, because we do live in the Great Basin, and what that basically means that all rivers and streams go inward and none of them go out to the ocean, and that's because of the geography and geology of our state is just mountains and valleys.
It used to be part of a great inland sea.
Yeah.
So you probably learned more about Nevada geology and geography than you wanted to.
Yeah, but that's, we're such Nevada nerds. So we did have a wonderful trip. We did have fun, and we should do that more often. And we're thinking about doing some day trips, and we're thinking about doing another big trip sometime in September, which we'll talk about when we get closer. Excuse me, sorry. We're about done here, but we do want to mention that if you are interested in meeting us, if you're interested in talking to us face to face and say how wonderful we are, we are going to be doing a couple of book signings here, which we've over advertised, but we'll keep doing that. So on Saturday, June 28th, we will be at Barnes & Noble from 1 o'clock to
1 to 3, I believe.
1 to 3. We're going to be right there with balloons and books, and so we'll be at Barnes & Noble. And if you're a Reno Aces fan, on the next day we'll be there at the day game in section 113 or something.
I think we're in 110.
110?
Yeah.
And so, swing by and say hi to us there.
Definitely check out Reno Aces.
If you miss us there, then we will be at Our Town, which is in the Old Shoppers Square at the intersection of Plum and Virginia. I'm sorry.
It's now called the Reno Public Market.
Yeah. And so we'll be there, which is July 5th.
Yes. So
July
it's the
5th,
week after.
At 1 o'clock. And so we'll be there along with local celebrity Bill Brown and 20-something other writers, and selling our wares and meeting people, because we love to meet our readers. We love to meet our readers.
And the event at the Reno Public Market is not just a book signing. From what I've seen, it looks like there will also be authors talking about what we do and how we do it. So I don't know who is scheduled to be speaking there, but it would definitely be a good thing to check out. And Art Town is the full month of July in Reno. Their slogan is Reno is Art Town. Runs from July 1st to the 31st. It has a number of events, musical performances, plays, things like that, visual, literary arts and everything. So there's usually something going on in July in Reno. So definitely, if you're not in this area, it's a good time to come through town and check out what's going on. We have a vibrant arts community in our area. We have a lot of really talented artists. And so if you want to get a sampling of that, it's like a charcuterie board of art for the month of July.
We're winding down here. We're winding down here to get to the end of the podcast finally. And just as a reminder, in this space next week, we're going to have Rich Marino on our podcast. And he gives us an extensive look at his works and talks about what it's like to write about Nevada. His answer to that question was very interesting and very insightful, as one would expect.
And just as a heads up, Rich was the publisher of Nevada Magazine for several years, and that's how I met him originally. He's also lived in Illinois and Washington State and has written about those as well. He's interested in history wherever he is, but he has a very special love for Nevada, as we all do. So he's definitely a fascinating person to talk to. I believe that was one of our longest interviews. I think we ended up at around an hour. So,
but it's
worthwhile.
It's a real party.
Yep.
And I guess we'll just wrap this up with our usual commercials. So you can check out our podcast, and you can check out the Nevada Author Network on our website at www.twomoorebooks.com. But you can check out this podcast and find links to our books right there on the front page at www.carsonhume.com. We try to send out these podcasts so you have a connection to us and so you can see what's going on not only in our lives but other writers' lives too. And like I said, we're having a lot of fun with these interviews and we hope to keep them going. Any last thoughts, Cece?
No, I just think that I hope everyone is having a great end to spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. We're coming up on the first day of summer, so it's going to start heating up. And, it's definitely a good time of year to settle down somewhere with a good book. So,
one of our books.
One of our books, or if you're watching one of our interviews, I'm definitely pretty sure you're going to find something of interest to keep you busy this summer. So check it out. Keep following along with us here, and check out our books hopefully, because we're going to have a lot more added to them by the end of the year.
Yep. And our very, very, very last thought to everybody who is one and to everyone who acts as one: Happy Father's Day. Yes. Y'all take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.
Bye.